What's better than two commitments in 2 days? How about the second commitment being even better than the first?
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Make sure you get your Boston College news over there as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. We have a jammed-packed episode about recruiting today. We're going to look at Bill O'Brien's impact and how things have changed over the first year for Bill O'Brien. We're going to look at what's next after a commitment on Tuesday and a commitment on Monday. And we're going to talk about the biggest commitment that Bill O'Brien may have landed since he took over last winter. Let's kick it off. On Tuesday morning, we just got over the buzz of the Monday night news where Furian and Ferrara, quarterback from Mater Dei High School in California, committed. Well, got even more news on Tuesday morning as another 27 California commitment announced his decision. This was athlete. He's going to be a wide receiver. Wesley Winn out of Archbishop Reardon in California. Now, Winn, he's 5'9", 155 pounds. You're looking at that going, okay, cool. Smaller wide receiver, whatever. What you need to see and what really stands out about Wesley Winn is the pedigree of what schools have been chasing him. You name the school, and most likely they have offered Wesley Winn. Ohio State offered. Michigan offered. Miami offered. Georgia offered. USC offered. Oklahoma offered. Clemson. You see what I mean? Like every blue blood you can think of. I think I believe Penn State offered. Like every blue blood, big schools that BC almost always has no chance at. When one of them offer, all of them really wanted Wesley Winn. And you look at what he's done in the first 2 years as a high school player, you understand why he absolutely is going to be a 4-star recruit. I have to imagine when the star ratings come out for the class of 27. That might be a little while because they're only at the top 100 right now. I'm guessing top 247 where there's 4 stars, excuse me. I bet he will be in that group. To have that interest. And this is not just like they see film and they offer him. He camped at Ohio State. He camped at Georgia. So he's been all over the country. He's seen these schools live. They wanted him. But he chose BC. And you're going to love the reasons why. He loves the staff, but he loves the culture at Boston College. Playing for Bill O'Brien, getting those NFL coaches, again, pays dividends. He has so many coaches that have big experiences, either coaching at the NFL level, guys like Bill O'Brien, guys, like Rob Chudzinski, who's on the staff, and other coaches that have also coached at the NFL level. You also have coaches that have put players into the NFL. Obviously, Darryl Wyatt has had a big experience doing that, and that's going to be his positional coach. He is fast, runs an 11.3 100-yard dash and a very good 200-yard dash. He's a track star. Smaller wide receiver. He's not going to be your big typical Jerron Bradley or Reed Harris. He's going to be, hopefully, he's an important recruit. Maybe Zay Flowers type. We'll have to wait and see what kind of style he plays with. He's already had 80 catches through the first 2 years. So he's already I know we talked with Furian and Ferrara yesterday, and folks rightfully were messaging me like, he hasn't really played yet. Why would BC go after him? And I kind of explained that in the show. Wesley Winn has played. He's played 2 years, has about 80 catches. He's hitting his stride. And this is a kid that he wants to be here. It sounds like it was a family decision. Like his mom really loves Boston College. The feel of the school, the Catholic part of it, it all seemed super important. He chose to announce on his mom's birthday. So family is very important to Wesley Winn. Now, the biggest question you all are going to ask, and I get it, how is BC going to hold on to Wesley Winn for a year and a half? And the quick answer is they're going to have to work real hard too, because he's going to get a lot of attention, I'm sure. But you also have to trust two things about Bill O'Brien's staff. A, that they're picking kids originally that are, as I said, fit this culture and have the same um, ideals and values that your staff does. And B, that they are also going to really push the development that they can offer here. Those are going to be super important. You can go to USC, but the coaches there may not have the pedigree. They may treat you more like a cog in the wheel than like the family member you may feel like at Boston College. You may go to Georgia, but you're one of a dozen 5 stars or 4-star recruits, and you kind of lose the special feeling that you would get at a school like BC. In addition, the Catholic piece, if that's important to the Winn and his family, which it seems like it might be, that's going to be an important factor too. So, of course, the one school, if that's the factor, you're going to have to watch for is Notre Dame. But I think Notre Dame offered him already anyway. So I feel pretty good about this. I feel like right now BC's in good shape. You have to play well, make sure that he understands that this is going to be a good program. And this is, as I said, you go back over Jeff Hafley's era. You go back over Bill O'Brien's last year. This is a special recruit, and I will explain in the last segment how special it is and how unique and like a unicorn this commitment is, because it's very different than almost anyone Bill O'Brien's landed. And I can think of maybe one, potentially two, under Jeff Hafley that was kind of close. But this is a big deal. And in a moment, I want to talk to you about what's next. What goes on for BC football from here? What should we be expecting? What are we waiting for? I'll get into all of that in just a moment. For tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert or comedy show or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. Now, I've told you before about my experience getting tickets to the UVA game 2 years ago. I know next year, I'm looking at that home schedule and I'm thinking which game I'm going to go to. I'm going to take my family. I usually go a little bit later in September because I don't like my kids frying those early games because it gets real hot. But I know when I get my tickets, I'm going to use Game Time because I know I'm going to get the best deals. They guarantee that it's going to be the best guarantee, lowest price anywhere. And if you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Ready to make your next event even better? Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Thank you all who have made us your first listen every day. And for all you everydayers out there, I want to say I appreciate each and every one of you that hits that play button every morning to get your Boston College news here. Why would you go anywhere else? And why would you go to anyone else to get your recruiting news than someone who is an expert who covers them? And you're here to get all that news. And I'm glad to talk to you about where BC's. So we had in the last 2 days, 2 commitments in the class of 2027. That gives Boston College 3 commitments in the class of 27. You have Jackson Tucker from Catholic Memorial. That's Max Tucker's brother. He's a safety. You have Furian Ferrara, and he's a quarterback from Mater Day. And now you have Wesley Winn. And so you have 3. That's a good start for your class of 27. So now you ask yourself, what is next? What do we need to expect next? If you've been following along on Twitter to any national recruiting site or recruiting analyst, you're starting to see the first signs of official visit season popping up. You're seeing recruits posting their official visits that they're going to be taking. They're starting to matriculate and get into their schedules. So we don't know who is going to be taking official visits. We know that the kids that are committed, most of them probably will be taking their official visits to BC in June. I would expect all of them to. But there will also be players that we're going to be watching for, and I'll have all those names on Eagle Insider. Now, names that you're going to want to watch for, I'll give you a few. We go with the local kids, right? Marek Jen, offensive lineman from Phillips Exeter in New Hampshire. He's got some big offers. He's going to be an offensive lineman. I bet you BC will get an official visit from him. Marky Walbridge from St. Sebastian's. He's going to potentially be a 4-star recruit. Will they get an official visit from him? I mean, he just checked out Michigan. I believe Penn State was pushing for him. He's going to be tough, but I do think BC's in a good spot with Marky Walbridge. So he could potentially be someone you're going to be watching for. Carter Gooden, who just received a bunch of new offers. I know a bigger school, and I don't have it in front of me. Maybe Illinois just offered him. He's a defensive end, originally from Canada, moved to Tabor Academy. I've heard Big Ten schools are very interested in him, so he could be another one to watch for. And then you have more national guys. You have guys, I will guarantee you right off the bat that the wide receiver big board, the guys that they're going to go after for a wide receiver, this is all class of 26, by the way. It's Darrell Wyatt. So there's 2 states to watch for, Texas and Florida. Those are the states that he does really well at. And Darrell Wyatt, as I've said on the show before, he does everything in silence. Like the people that I talk to, sometimes when I'm asked, I'm like, hey, what's going on with the wide receiver? They're like, oh. It's always kind of his thing. So I'm going to guess there's going to be some names coming out of Texas that'll surprise us. That's going to be something that'll probably pop up. We're going to see some names potentially from Florida. I don't know how big this wide receiver group is going to be. They landed 3 last year. You know, they have one already in DJ Biggins. Maybe 1 or 2 more, maybe 3 again, and see how that runs. But I bet you that will be part of official visit season. Femi Babalola, that's another name to watch for when you're talking about official visits. He is a quarterback from Ravenwood. We talked about him on yesterday's show when we were talking about Furian and Ferrara. I would almost bet I'd bet the house that he's going to get an official visit. So those are all guys. One guy I don't expect to visit, and I've said this before, but everyone seems to keep talking about him, so I'm going to keep bringing it up, is Laniel Hall. He goes by U-Haul. BC's not recruiting him. You know, they've got a bunch of offensive linemen. They got guys that they're looking at more. I would seriously doubt, unless things change, and things do change in recruiting. So remember, I was the one that said Dominic Funk was going to come here because for a while, that's all I kept hearing, and that changed. I don't think that Laniel Hall will be taking a visit here. And it's not because he's not interested. I think there's other factors that go into play. That being said, there's going to be other folks going around. We'll see people from Oklahoma because of Ray Brown and you know, different areas of the country. That will be the official visit season. They're going to start to see invitations. I'll have all of those up on Eagle Insider, and you know, I'll also talk about them here on the show. So if you're dying to know who's interested in Bill O'Brien and this group, make sure you're subscribed here. Additionally, we're getting closer to spring ball, about a month away, where BC is going to have practice. That is a big unofficial visit season. So you will get guys that come from far away that are interested. But remember, unofficial visits mean that the kids have to pay on their own dime. So some families that, you know, whether it like you live in Florida and you don't want to spend all that money to get a hotel and airfare, may not take that trip. They may say, oh, we're interested, but we'll just take the official visit later because the school pays for those. But you do get unofficial visitors that are from across the country. Last year, there was at least 2 offensive linemen from Utah that came. There were kids. There were recruits from all over the country. Not a ton of them, but most of them you see from like the Northeast. So like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, sometimes Ohio and up. That's usually where you get a lot of your visitors. and they'll come for practice. Practice is usually packed during the spring. So we're getting closer to practice time, and those recruits will take those unofficial visits, and those usually kind of then trickle over into some more official visits lined up. If you're asking what the class size is, I don't know yet. I'm not sure. I know for this group that they're going to have to get their roster up to 105. With the House bill, there's lots of like moving parts there. I'm not sure how that's going to change with uh, preferred walk-ons and things like that. But they're going to have to get to 105. They'll have to take a best guess for their recruiting class coming up. Right now, they have, I think it's 7 or 8 recruits for the class of 26. They have 3 for the class of 27. It's been busy. But you're also going to start to see top lists, like I almost said topless, top lists. Let's pronounce that better, AJ. Top lists, top sevens, things like that. And I believe they have one more weekend where they can have visitors. I don't believe they're in a dead period yet. Love that I record this because I can hit the pause button and look it up. They're in a dead period. They're in a dead period until next March. Next March, March 2nd. So they're on a dead period for about a month. So you're not going to see visitors. You're not going to see lots of new offers. It's going to be quieter in that sense. But that's where recruits are going to start to make some paring downs of their offer lists and things like that. I'm expecting BC. And I'll talk more about this in a moment, to be involved with a lot of guys that have bigger offer lists this time. I think with a year under his belt and some results on the field, that Bill O'Brien's going to be able to improve this recruiting class to like numbers wise. If star ratings and 247 rankings are what interests you, I think O'Brien's going to be able to get that improved. So in our final segment, I'm going to talk about how Bill O'Brien has changed recruiting already, and how the first 10 or so from the class of 26 and 27 are showing us a different style of recruit than we've seen in a while. I'll get into all that in just a moment. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Had a little technical issue there, but we're talking about recruiting. And if you want to talk more recruiting, check out Locked On ACC. Check out all the Locked On College football shows. They have a great variety of hosts that you can check out. Check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And we're going to have a special announcement of where you can find our podcast starting next week or in a couple of weeks. So make sure you're locked in to Locked On BC. Now, BC's recruiting class in the class of 2025 came in at a solid 49, ranking on 247. Not the greatest, and not what I think a lot of folks were hoping for. But as I've said before, and all you everydayers have heard me say it many times, Bill O'Brien had a very small window to recruit with a brand new staff. It's tough. He was able to do pretty well with it, but I don't think that is representative of what he could do in future classes. And right now, with the class of 2026 and the class of 2027, we are seeing a different style of recruit. We're seeing more and more recruits with bigger offer lists that are getting more attention nationally. Whether you have someone like Wesley Winn is a unicorn in terms of BC football. You have to go back to Clinton Burton Jr. That's the last one I can think of that had an offer list like Wesley Winn has. Burton was offered by Bama and Ohio State, and he had, he flipped from Florida, and hopefully Wesley Winn does not have the career at Boston College that Clinton Burton had, because he didn't end up doing much of anything. But you go back to, let's go modern age, from Adazio to Spaziani on. There has not been many guys that have the offer list that he has. Harold Landry, maybe-ish. But this is a guy that was nationally recruited by every blue-blooded program. You don't get many of those. You already have your entire offensive line is local, which is great. but they also have offers too. Most of them were offered by Syracuse. Some had Maryland and Rutgers offers. They were there. There's interest there, but they're staying in at Boston College. So the local piece, I think, is important to note too, that the image of Boston College to local schools, not all of them. There's still some schools that their coaches want to send their kids elsewhere, but most of them, they understand the value of keeping their kids local. And you're seeing more and more local kids staying here. But nationally, too, we're seeing Boston College starting to open some eyes. Look at Oklahoma, for instance. I've talked about this before with our everydayers. Oklahoma is a state that I would have never thought BC would ever get involved with. But you bring in Ray Brown. Ray Brown helps with Jonathan DiBiaso to get Shaker Reisig, Ashton Cunningham, and they're not done yet. They offered another cornerback in class of 2025 who was mentioning 2026 that was mentioning BC. There's other guys out that area that Ray Brown is interested in. There's changes there. You obviously have Darryl Wyatt continuing in Texas. Now he's a little different because he was with Hafley too, but you're having some changes there. You're getting in your foot in the door. These last two commitments show it to me pretty heavily in Catholic and Christian schools across the country. Mater Dei and Archbishop Riordan. BC should have no issue getting into Catholic schools. And there's talent-rich programs throughout the country that are Catholic schools. BC can sell it sounds awful, but their religious ideals should open doors to Boston College that don't open doors to other schools. And for the first time, it seems to me that the schools that are serious about this are looking at Bill O'Brien and his staff and saying, we want our kids to go there. We want our kids to look at Boston College because they have the same values that we do. That's important. That's important. That's big news. Bill O'Brien, I believe, is going to put together a great class of 2026. I mean, is it going to be the best that they've ever had? No, but I think it's going to be ranked higher in a solid higher than class of 2025. Class of 2027, folks, watch out because this group could be elite. Like you could finally have a top 25 class. And he's selling it on NFL development, values, culture, the city of Boston, and his NFL connections. Look at what I said with Mitch earlier this week. What is Bill O'Brien is stumping for Donovan Azaraku with his NFL buddies to help him rise up the NFL draft board, selling like why he should be. That's big. Kids see that. That's important. So Bill O'Brien is changing college football recruiting at Boston College within the structures of what BC can and can't do. BC is not going to be getting 5-star recruits. BC is not going to be a national contender. Could they get to the playoffs under Bill O'Brien? Absolutely. But there's going to be a limit at how high they can get. This is what I'm saying. Unless things drastically change with the structure after Father Leahy leaves next year, which I don't expect. I think it could change, but I don't think it's going to be drastic. I think BC is going to be kind of in their lane. And looking at the playoffs, especially if they go up to like 16 teams, BC very much under Bill O'Brien should be in that mold. They should be able to get to that spot if they continue to improve. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a higher level recruit. We're seeing recruits that I think are going to get developed by the staff that are going to be very good, and it's going to make Boston College football better. Wesley Winn, as I said, in Furian and Ferrara, are two tantalizing recruits that I don't think, as I said yesterday, Jeff Hafley could not recruit quarterbacks. Bill O'Brien has changed that. Wesley Winn is an elite recruit who has blue blood offers. Jeff Hafley really struggled with that. He got Quentin Burton, so I'm not saying he didn't, and Drew Kendall was pretty high up there too. Bill O'Brien is going to improve the profile of Boston College, and he's starting it with recruiting right now. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to continue our discussion of everything BC football. On Friday's episode, we're going to have BC Hockey Blogger on. We were unable to get it together, but he's going to come on and talk about the recent stretch of BC hockey. We're going to look at the Bean Pot and everything in between. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at AJBlack247 or at Locked On BC. Follow my work over at Eagle Insider. There's free stuff over there on Wednesday. If you're listening today, all of my VIP work and the VIP boards are unlocked for 24 hours. We'll talk all about what's going on there. You can go check it out. Check it out for free. And if you want to get a year, it's 60% off. Can't beat that. Make sure you sign up today. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all again soon for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.